As promised, Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick's press conference.
The best staff in college football, and it's a testament to why we're in the position we're in today. But most importantly, I am in an envious position as I go out now and search for the next leader because of our student athletes. We have 118 of the best young men in America who are at the core of our program. I met with them this morning and I was reminded of that, and reminded of the fact that the culture built in this program isn't Jack Swarbrick's culture. It's not Brian Kelly's culture. It is the culture built by those young men, and especially the leaders of that team. So I am most indebted to them for what they built, and they have my commitment that I will ensure that nothing that they built will be diminished or lost as we move this program forward in the weeks, months, and years ahead. So with that, I'm happy to take questions.
We'll start with Eric Hansen in the front.
I'm told I have to say my name and where I work. So Eric Hansen, South Bend Tribune.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Who is going to be your interim coach as you go through the search, and any chance that person could end up being the permanent head coach?
Yeah, we haven't made a decision on an interim yet. And frankly, I think we may approach it a little bit differently. This staff is so well structured and the responsibilities are so well understood. I feel less of a need to have a designated interim. But if as the search progresses, if we feel a need to put somebody in that position, they would not be a candidate for the job.
You know, you mentioned that you felt like Notre Dame was in a really good place. What do you need to do? What are the next steps you need to do in terms of timetable, in terms of recruits, to make sure there's not kind of a half step back here as you're looking for new leadership?
First and foremost is getting the right leader. And so, yeah, I recognize the external factors, if you will, you know, the recruiting calendar and transfer portals, but none of that is a reason not to make sure that we run a process that gets the very best person to lead this program forward. So that'll be our focus.
Last one for me. You mentioned the players, and players have a voice in a lot of things now. Will you invite their voice in the selection process?
Not with regard to specific candidates, but absolutely with regard to characteristics and criteria. Every search I've conducted here in every sport, I've had a group of student athletes help advise me, and I'll look to the captains of this football team to play that role.
John Bryce is next, also in the front.
Hey, Jack.
Hi.
Thanks for your time. John Bryce, Football Scoop. It seems like Brian had at least one or more conversations with USC, and then very obviously had one or more conversations to get to this point with LSU. Did he discuss those conversations with you? Did you get the sense there was something he was looking for that either he didn't believe he could find at Notre Dame or that Notre Dame could not deliver to him?
Yes, he did not discuss with me the conversations he had with other universities. We always are talking about the program's needs and how to improve it. And there was not anything identified at any time that was something we could not accommodate or meet. We just simply didn't have those things come up.
Did he give you any opportunity to try to convince him to stay or to match LSU's offer? And then last one for me would be, what are, in addition to what Eric asked, what are some of the defining characteristics that you will look for as you go through this process, and will you use a search firm?
Yeah. If we will conduct the search, the University of Notre Dame, and I will lead that search. If we use any outside resources, it'll be for administrative purposes, background checks, maybe, you know, booking my travel under a different name, all the things that try and mislead you guys a little bit, keep you off my tail. But no, we will take the lead on the search. No, Brian did not come to me, which frankly I appreciated, with some opportunity to match the offer. But when we talked, he indicated that he was resigning. to take another position. He thanked me for the opportunity the university had provided to him, thanked me for our friendship, which I very much appreciated. And I wished him all the best. And we talked a little bit about how today would work.
Pete Byrne is next, middle row to your right.
Jack, to your right, and second row. Pete Byrne, WSBT. When did you have that conversation with Brian Kelly? And to what extent were you surprised that that's what he wanted to talk to you about?
It was sometime last night, and I can't give you the exact time. I was not surprised. There had been enough in the weeks leading up that gave me a pretty strong sense that there might be other things that were attracting Brian. And then, of course, social media got very active during the day yesterday. So between the two things, I was not surprised.
You've discussed with us in the past that for not just this position, but all of your head coaching positions, that you kind of always keep an ongoing running list of what direction you might consider turning in the event you needed to make a replacement. And I don't anticipate you're willing to share that list with us today, but as you look at who would be on your list, how would you characterize those people? Are you looking for someone with head coaching experience? Are you looking strictly in the college ranks? I'm just curious how you weigh those factors.
Yeah. First of all, sometimes I think I'm the only AD in the country, but I don't keep a list of people, because my experience has been every search has its own dynamic and its own characteristics. So last time we did a football search, we built a list of characteristics. I can't remember now. I think it was 11 or 12 that we built first. And then we screened candidates against that list. And high on that list was rebuilding a program. Well, rebuilding a program doesn't even show up on the list this year, right? And so a different focus takes you in different directions. And that's where I'm pleased to say we are today. And I forgot to address the characteristic question that was asked earlier, so I'm glad you brought it back up. Fit at Notre Dame is number one. This is a unique place. And it is important that you understand and appreciate the uniquenesses. And so that's a critical element of this. Increasingly, the role of college football head coaches is a CEO role. And so clearly understanding your approach to building and managing staff becomes very important. Next, what's your approach to playing the game? What's your style? What do you do? How do you achieve victory on the football field? And then a whole list of things that relate to attracting and developing great student athletes, and especially the development part of it. I'm really pleased with where our recruiting is today and the improvements we've made in it, the resources we put into it. But I still want to be a great development program. And so what are your ideas on developing young men to be great players, great champions, and great parts of our community?
As it relates to your head coach being CEO-like, will you entertain someone that's not been a head coach before?
I don't want to answer it as a hypothetical, right? I mean, we're going to take those characteristics and, we're going to find the best person. And I don't want to set any individual criteria as part of that.
And lastly, have you guys reached out to anyone yet, just to begin gauging interest?
No.
Okay.
Although I've had a lot of outreach.
You were just listening in to Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick talking about the departure of Brian Kelly being fairly cordial, to quote, not surprised, and actually was nice to see that he had opportunity to match the offer, but just too much for LSU, where it's reported 10-year, $95 million would go Tigers. Notre Dame ends its season with one loss, the only blemish to Cincinnati, who's right now in the conversation for the college football playoff and leading the group of five. Our Jerry Palm, college football playoff analyst, right now in line with most of the other analysts when it comes to the bowl games. Right now, Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl Jerry does have Michigan State facing the Fighting Irish in this one. And one last note here from Jack Swarbrick. And again, didn't specifically talk about a short list or what candidates were in line, but did describe the type of head coach he would like, which is a CEO type of man who could take over a program and really do with a lot of different departments.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.